150 times a person on average unlocks his or her device. And I'm amazed myself by the number of times that I'm sitting at my desk, I have like 2 screens, and I'm working for half an hour on my smartphone on this little screen. Because oftentimes it's just more convenient. And we had these testimonials of the banks, ING and BNP, and they were always kind of saying the same, that mobile is growing much faster than the other platforms. And I look at myself. A few years ago, I went with a pile of documents to these little things, and I started tapping all my invoices that I had to the payments I had to make, with a big row behind me. And then I switched to mobile banking, so internet banking, which was already more convenient. I did it like once every 2 weeks. But now I can do mobile banking and basically do it every day. Well, even better, my wife does it every day because it's running on an iPad too, and I don't have an iPad too, she has. So it really changed the way people are behaving. And what is really interesting is that those banks, they said, now we are developing apps that users can understand their buying behavior, so what they spend every month, etc. So kind of analytics. And it's the first time that, and they said it themselves, the first time that they really go and sit next to the consumers and listen to the consumer, what the consumer really wants. That's changing a lot. Now, from my point of view, what I like most actually is that I can talk to this phone. I have this problem with my elbow, RSI called, and I talk to it. A lot of time, but many times. And in the very near future, we'll have a world where there are no keyboards and no steering wheels. Often I do this little demo. Now it's too many people, but I talk to it and I say, "Okay, Google, who is the president of the United States?" And it will answer me, President Obama is the president of the United States of America since 1968. And then I ask him, and who is his wife? His wife. And this little thing will answer me. Michelle Obama is his wife. And so I keep asking questions, and it's basically, you know this view of Star Trek, where we're talking to our devices all the time. And that's where we're going in the very near future. Now, this has been going on for some time. The thing which is really changing is the speed. These little graphs are the graphs of the desktop and notebook sales. And then the orange graph is the tablet sales. And you see that the speed is really increasing incredibly. The same thing is happening with the smartphone. To have 1 billion users on the radio, it took 72 years. 1 billion users on TV, 67. So now guess how many years it took to have 1 billion smartphone users. How many years did that take? Any guesses from the room here? 5. You're the winner. Who was that? You're the winner. 5 years to have 1 billion users in smartphone. Now the good news, it's still early morning on the web, right? So today there's 2 billion people on internet, and actually I saw last week or even this week that we even reached 3 billion users this week. But we are going by 2020, we'll go to 5 billion users out of 7 will be connected on the internet, and it's actually going faster than we expected. Now. What is important for this evolution? Well, there's a few things which are important. First is we need to be connected to the network, right? You need at any time to be connected. And secondly, the prices of all these devices will still go down even more. We're going to a price point of roughly $30 per phone. Maybe some of you heard about Android One, which we're launching in India. India has 1 billion potential mobile phone users. So the price point there is now at $100. It will go down and even go towards the $30 mark. Now, Well, one of the things is also connectivity, and so let me tell you a little story about this project. It's called Project Loon. Anybody heard about Project Loon already? All right, quite so. So this is one of the moonshot projects. So we at Google, we try to do moonshot thinking, which is kind of, instead of trying to improve things by 10 or 15%, we try to improve things by 10 times what exists today. So instead of having better fiber in the ground or more fiber in Africa, etc., we kind of were thinking, how can we make sure that everybody has internet access forever? So let's roll this little video to explain Project Boute.
Sometimes everyone isn't really everyone. Like when people say everyone's on the internet. Because the truth is, for each person that can get online, there are two that can't. And when you look closer, that everyone looks even less like everyone. In some places, it's more like 1 in 1,000. In others, it's 1 in 10,000. And in some places, no one's online at all. But what if there was a way to light up the entire globe and finally make all the world's information accessible to all of the world's people? Well, even though today 1 in 3 kids can't get to a real secondary school, everyone can have secondary school come to them. In places where there aren't enough doctors, everyone could be helped by doctors in other places. Farmers everywhere can start using better weather data, so everyone could enjoy a bigger harvest. And because small businesses that are on the internet grow twice as fast, everyone could create more opportunities for everyone. But how do we bring affordable internet to everyone? Maybe finding an answer starts with looking somewhere new. Like up, and trying something different. Like balloons. Yeah, that's right, balloons. Because it turns out that if you use balloons, it's faster and easier and cheaper to give everyone the internet than it is to give some people the internet. That's why we're giving it a try, and why there's hope that someday soon, everyone really will mean everyone.
So these balloons are up in the air right now, somewhere. They're like 20 kilometers above the earth, and they go with the winds around the world. Actually, they go like that. It's a moonshot project. If it will work out, we don't know. Like eight out of 10 moonshot projects fail, and that's fine. That's why we're taking that many risks. We know from that many of them will fail. But if it would be possible, that would be really awesome. Now, the second thing is, and that is already said by the previous speaker, we will not only have 5 billion people connected on internet, but we will have also 50 billion devices connected on internet. So the world basically gets glad. And with glad, we mean Google flat. We at Google, we put a G before kind of every word, G flat. And I will try to explain what we mean with glad. In my previous company, I used to work for AB InBev, which is a small Belgian beer company, which you probably know about. And so my role was to reorganize the different divisions, zones. So I used to go to Brazil and say, okay, guys, in Argentina, they kind of brew the beer in a different way, and so they have 10% less people. So why don't we change the way we work here? Then the Brazilians would say, yeah, but you know, Brazil is different, blah, blah, blah. I would say, apologies, the world is flat, right? The world is flat. Everybody's brewing beer the same way, so let's try to adopt and get the best practices from Argentina. Now, with G-flat or GLAD, we basically mean that it's a few steps further. If I want to start a company here in Belgium, I have a great idea, and I launch a digital company, my possible users are anywhere, because there's like 1 billion Android users all over the world. So if anywhere you are able to set up a company and get the rest of the world as a potential user. That's what we mean with the world gets glad. Now, let me do another exercise here and make it a little bit interactive. I would like you to all stand up, please. Can you please all stand up? And I would like you to think about the number of devices, the number of screens that you have at your house. So you kind of count all the portables, desktops, the screens that you have, the tablets, the TVs, of course, but also if you have a screen on your refrigerator or whatever screen that you have. So all people with one screen at home, please sit down. 2 screens, please sit down. Less than 5 screens, please sit down. Okay, so there's like 5 people who sat down with less than 5 screens. 6 screens, 7 screens. All right, so 7 screens, we see another kind of benchmark. 8 screens, 9 screens. All right, now this becomes interesting. 10 screens. Okay, 11 screens. 12 screens. 13. 13 screens. Okay. 14 screens. I guess you're still playing.
100 screens. I've got 47 different mobile phones.
Okay, well, yeah, you know how to play. So 14 screens that you're using. So now think about how many screens you had like 5 years ago. Or 10 years ago. It's probably one screen, which was one television, which we all call it. So the world is really changing, and the way we communicate with the different screens is changing also too. So the desktop is changing on the one side, so that's what I talked about earlier, and so the touch screens, etc., and we will not have keyboards anymore. The mobile, I'm not sure if you heard about Project Era, where you will be able to make your own mobile phone and take, a better camera or a better power supply, etc. Of course, there is Chromecast. I guess you all know Chromecast. I brought one today. Chromecast is a very simple HDMI stick, which you plug into your TV. The cost is $35. You plug it into your TV, you connect it to your Wi-Fi, and you can cast your screen to your television. So we at our house, we have every Friday a little party, and so my daughters have their devices, and we have our devices, and we choose basically one after the other, a song or whatever, a YouTube funny video that we cast on the screen. It's very, very convenient. We have the wearables, of course, the Android wearables, Google Glasses, but there's many others, there's a few outside. And then in the car, we'll have basically the same system. So you'll be able to say to your watch, okay, Google, get directions to Schumann, but you'll be able to do the same thing in your car, whether that's a driverless car or not. And this is a nice one. Did you know that 90% of mobile phones in Japan are waterproof? Because the Japanese really tend to take mobile phones very serious, so they need to be able to watch their mobile when they're in the shower. So it goes really very far. Now, all this is nice. However, 45% of businesses still do not optimize their site. That is amazing. And everybody knows that if you go to an unfriendly mobile site, you will walk away. Everybody agrees m-commerce is coming up. However, mobiles are mainly used today to influence. So you basically watch and search for something, and then you go to the store. So the connection between mobile and stores is getting closer and closer. So when you would go into a store, your mobile phone, and we have Google Now cards. So your mobile phone will say, hey, you looked for these products, Well, this is a store where you can buy it. Who knows Google Now? So Google Now is basically a personal advisor, which you can talk to, as I said before, and which knows everything about you. So, for example, in my case, they know that I'm holding a certain number of shares. They know where I live, so it will always give me the weather at home and the weather here. It knows, what I want to look for, and it will proactively give me messages. So instead of reactive searching for something, it gives me proactively, okay, you have an next appointment at 8 o'clock in Leuven, however there's a traffic jam, so instead of kicking off at 7:30, you need to leave at 7 o'clock today. This is what Google Now is doing. Now, let me talk a little bit about Android. So we know that the Android platform is more than just devices. We have mobile and tablet devices. We now have the wearables, and we started with the watches. However, you will see more evolutions on that side. There's Android TV, which you probably also know, which is a kind of set-top box so you can connect to your Android environment on your television, so you, let's say, be able to switch from TV1 to TV2 with your phone. And then there's Android Auto, which we're more and more integrating into the car systems with Audi and the other manufacturers. We are really integrating Android. So basically, you will be able to see the same thing here, as here, and there. The same, your own environment, your own apps that you will be able to see on different devices. Now, we just announced Lollipop, and so Lollipop is the major release of Android after starting Android. Basically, there's many changes that we did. There's material design. We changed the power consumption, which is a problem on our phones. We changed many things. What I really want to talk about is what we do at work, right? Android today is the most popular operating system. The most popular operating system. We have roughly 1 billion 30-day active users. So we started measuring it a little bit differently. We now measure only the 30-day active users, which is like 1 billion today. And every day, there's 1.5 million new activations of Android. Now, the problem is, just like you asked earlier, the problem is that with Android phones, there's typically a slightly different version of the software. There's so many manufacturers, and that's also the strength of Android, is that there's so many OEMs, so there's so many choice and so many competition, and so many users, and so lower price. That's the way it works. However, in enterprises, the problem is that means that there is a lot of versions, so more testing, more security updates, and more support costs. And that's exactly what we will try to solve here. With the release of Lollipop, we will build an ecosystem together with our partners, the app developers, but also the mobile device manufacturers, to make sure that from the user side, you still have the flexibility and the convenience of an Android system, but from the enterprise side, you're able to manage the users and the applications. That's the purpose of Android work. We'll start with Lollipop, and then we'll try to have also the earlier versions of Android enabled with that. How we're going to do it is actually not yet public, so I won't be able to comment on this. And so the purpose is that either you have a mixed use, kind of buy your own device or choose your own device, or a corporate use. So, the purpose is that you have a separation, a fragmentation of your personal data, your personal applications, versus your business data and your business applications. Now, Android Work is actually part of Google for Works, the division I'm working for, and there's a few other things that we do is apps for work and Chrome for work. And so let me go through this very quickly with you. And the purpose of this is actually what Peter Hinton is really saying very well. We have these great tools at home, and then when we go to work, we drive in our car, we go 1 century back. We're back with this old IBM PC that we boot, and it takes 20 minutes to get it booted. We have the old-fashioned apps, etc., which we basically don't like to work with. Just like the banking applications, all of a sudden everybody is doing banking because it's much more convenient. However, at work, it's still difficult to have these, consumer-like applications in the business environment. And so that's basically what we're trying to do. Somebody, a user, wants to access different things, whether that's email, intranet applications, file server, whatever, and then share it with their partners, customers, suppliers, etc. As well, basically 3 things. Is the browser to connect to your applications. It's Android to be mobile, and finally, your applications. Now, Google Apps for Work, I presume you all know by now, Google Apps for Work, which is, Google Drive and Google Mail and Google Hangouts for video conferencing, all these things. What is really nice about it is that it's made for mobile. So many of you, let me do another shake of hands so you do something. Who has a mobile first strategy in your company? Who has a mobile first strategy? Well, that's surprising. That's only like 10%. Okay, so I don't need to ask the next question. But at Google, we also have a mobile first strategy. But what is special is that we tend to do things a little bit extreme. But engineers work on a Tuesday on a tablet and on a Friday on a smartphone. So that's tablets Tuesdays and smartphone Fridays. So they basically make applications on their tablets on Tuesday and on their smartphone on Friday. It's obliged. Why are we doing this? Because we need everybody in the company to understand that this is the platform of the future. And so each and every application that we build also internally needs to be accessible on the mobile. That's what we kind of say mobile talk. Now, another very important thing is Chrome. So Chrome, what we have is Chrome for Work, which is kind of a management tool to control your browser, so you will be able to manage what can be done by that browser, by which person, etc. And so you probably heard about Chromebooks and Chromeboxes. Who did not hear about Chromebooks and Chromeboxes before? Everybody, great, so I don't need to explain. So that's kind of the new devices of the future where you basically have a browser and that's it. So if you forget your Chromebook, it doesn't matter, you just take another one, you open up your browser, you log in and you start working. And that has, of course, a lot of advantages because you don't need to update viruses, software patching, etc., because it's just a browser. We also launched Chromebooks for Meetings, which may be new for some of you, which is basically a Chromebox with one device, which is a video conferencing tool. So you basically have an HD camera, an audio system, a Chromebox, and a remote control. And so the purpose basically is to connect each meeting room with each meeting room. We do it, of course, the Googly way with the Googly price, which is radically lower than the normal pricing that you do. Now, I see some of you already thinking, okay, I'm confused here. You have Chrome and you have Android, so these are 2 platforms. So what is gonna work out? How are you gonna, which one will survive? That's a typical question I receive a lot. And so the answer is, we don't know. Indeed, both are great mobile platforms and they all have their own history and their own advantages. Chrome is basically started from a browser and mobile started for having an alternative mobile platform. However, what we're doing is bringing them closer together. So we will have more and more Android applications which you will be able to run on Chrome devices, and so you will also be able to receive Android notifications on Chrome. So that's kind of trying to explain to you what apps is, how Chrome and Android fit into the ecosystem. Now, the purpose here is that you will be able to do anything which you do in your consumer life, also in your business life. So we call that work the way you live. And so let me finish this presentation with a little story. We really believe that you need to be able to work anywhere. So all our applications are fully mobile enabled. So we had this kind of contest where we said, at a certain moment, for example, in my case, it was on a Monday, it was great weather, all week it would be great weather. I left my agenda just like it was. I left off for the coast, the Belgian coast, and I worked for 1 week at the Belgian coast. I did not change my agenda. I had my meetings with my colleagues, my customers, whoever. Of course, not live, but over video conferencing. But actually, that was the most productive week of the year, because I was basically able to work in an environment that I really loved. The weather was also great. You can see the pictures. I took my bike and my kite surfing gear with me, and I was able to do all my work from the coast. And that's really where we want to go, so you're able to work anywhere. Is that me? Anyway, that was the last slide. Now I'm open for questions, so any question you would have, at least if they're not too technical and not too difficult, I will be able to take them.
Any questions from the audience? I can repeat. Just do. Where did you find the port plug on the beach to upload your mobile phone again?
That is a really good one, because that was my biggest problem with the power supply. I had like 2 or 3 devices, so I could switch from time to time, but the power supply was the biggest issue.
So remember with laptops where you can put new batteries in, and nowadays you don't have them anymore?
We have these little loaders, these loaders that you can use, so you can, during night, you can load the power supplies. That's very useful.
It's one way of doing it, yeah. We now have Android apps running in Chrome and Chrome apps running inside Chrome in the browser in Android. However, in January, Google will shut down all its API applications like Flash will not run the browser anymore, but instead will use the internal engine called Pepper. But Android applications inside Chrome are using the same technology, don't they? Maybe. Okay.
Maybe my colleague Alexander knows. I don't know.
Okay, I will investigate it. I was a little bit confused by that. In terms of voice recognition, you said that there's the near future will be all voice recognition. We're not going to use keyboards any longer. I have a MOCO, I have my Lollipop phone, and I still have to say the recognition is good for a few demos, but really working with it, we're still quite away from that, especially when it comes to multilingual support. What can we do to make that easier?
So I agree. However, you can have notes. I got this one with Dutch and English on it, and it will detect that it's Dutch, so it will autocorrect in Dutch. So I fully agree. We're not yet to have a full-time keyboard-less world. However, for small messages without too much punctuation, for me it works very well. Punctuation is still a problem.
Is there an enterprise product or idea to allow companies to upgrade older Androids in a cheaper fashion? Or is it going to be like we need new devices? Because I see a lot of companies having older Androids, and would be great to get Lollipop on them.
That's a very good point. And what we tried with Android, yet to be proven if it will really work out, is to make the footprint smaller. So you'll be able to run Lollipop on older devices, and that's exactly the goal of Lollipop, to make sure that you can run it on older devices. However, of course, the manufacturers need to be able to look at the drivers and get that going. But definitely that's the goal.
Yeah, that was also the benefit for having an Android, Google Android device, because the drivers were at least open, so I can flash an alert mobile system on it, whereas like with others it was impossible. In terms of like Chromebooks, do you have any numbers? How many companies switched to those? Because when Chromebooks came out, I was super excited. I'm like, oh great, we're going to replace old gray boxes with new evergreen computers. But is the uptake as much as we wanted to?
In the US, yes. Europe is, as always, a little bit later, which is fine. The uptake is in the first place in consumer market. So if you look at the top 10 on Amazon, there's many Chromebooks there. In education, we moved from in no time to 20% market share. So on 1 year, from 3 to 20%. So that went very fast. In businesses, now that we have these collaborations with the Citrix and the VMwares and the Awimbus from Belgium, we're able to run, our virtualized legacy applications through the VDI or application streaming on a Chrome browser. So that was kind of one of the important things for enterprises to easily be able to use Chromebooks. But at least I see an acceleration now in the market. It's never fast enough, but we're getting there.
The app streaming is an interesting point, because that's also Android Car is the big thing. Like instead of having to upgrade the hardware in the car all the time, or buy a new car when there's a new version of Android out, which people probably not going to do outside of Silicon Valley. But streaming directly the apps to the car is something, so it becomes like an interactive TV inside the car.
Yeah, we did an amazing thing with Adobe to stream their applications, which is basically running on our cloud, Google Cloud platform. So you're able to stream it. So that was one of the proof points that it's actually possible. But now we need, of course, the ISVs to work with this.
Yeah,
Just somebody else who wants to ask a question.
I noticed in the photos that you had when you were doing your remote days, you're working on a laptop. What's stopping you personally from using a mobile device for all of your work?
So me personally, it's mainly the bulk typing. The bulk typing is still not easy on. So if you need to multiple sentences, that's still something I definitely do on a screen or on a Chromebook in my case. What I do more and more is cast my screen on my TV. So when I'm at home, I cast my screen on my TV to watch trainings and things like that. Those are the main things. So first I would say a lot of text. That's the one thing, and then a big screen. You need sometimes you want to look at it on a bigger screen. And if, for example, at work I don't have this big screen to cast my mobile, then I use my Chromebook.
Do you think there's a way forward for that, or is that going to be a major roadblock that holds this back from really penetrating into the enterprise in a more fundamental way?
You mean these devices?
The input questions that you were saying, the input and the visualization, and the ability to enter and work with text.
I think, either we can do this voice recognition better, and we'll get there, but that will take some time to make long sentences. That's something to solve, and then we should be able to cast our mobile on any screen. That's another thing, which we're getting there piece by piece.
But it's also impossible to have an office with 400 cubicles where people talk to their computers, because they interfere with each other. I mean, this is always the thing that, I love typing. I'm a writer, and I think getting away from the keyboard is not going to happen anytime soon, because of the bulk writing that we do and the recognition. Because I mean, for example, talking to this one is great, but not being able to edit what I just talked and I have to start every single time anew is not really there yet. So I think we're still with the bulk typing work that we do, And it's interesting because I work with blind developers a lot, and they are actually using voice recognition and listening to their own stuff the whole time. The technology has been around for 20 years, but it was like encumbered by IPs and all kind of things, so we cannot do that yet. But I think we're out of time, so the last thing we want to do here now is get the, thank you very much, first of all.